Hey, this is Individual Perspective Podcast. I am your host, Daris D. McKinney, and we're back for round two. You know, these generals want to be famous. They want to be famous, so we're going to make them famous, okay? Hacky generals, okay? General Milley, General Kelly, General McMaster. No, I'm sorry, not McMaster. I think he's a hack too, but no, I'm not. I'll take that back. It's General Kelly, General McMilley, and General McChrystal. That's it. The hacks. They try to preserve that intelligence agency, the Pentagon. It's just ridiculous. I don't even want to look. You guys. I did a lot of ranting in the previous episode. Okay, this time we're gonna just kind of jump into it and get down to the nitty gritty of what's going on in this whole conversation. And like I said, I want you guys to understand the context of why they're using Trump and what people's perception of what he would possibly say about our war veterans and our veteran. They took a squabble or a trolling and kind of politics back and forth that McCain and Trump had with each other, and they kind of made it as the narrative to how they want people to perceive Trump's thought process about military people. Because you got the politicians and you got the generals and you have the media saying that Trump shouldn't even be criticizing John McCain. Because John McCain is so great, you don't even criticize him. Even if he talks about you, don't criticize him. Fuck John McCain. You get what I'm saying? And Trump got to fight the fight that he got to fight because he's fighting the fight. And only thing that beats this fight is narrative. The only way you could destroy the CIA, destroy the FBI, destroy the Pentagon, destroy the intelligence agency is with narrative and controlling the narrative. That's why I say politics is controlling narrative. If you got control of the narrative, you good. Because you can either give the people the truth or you could make people believe a lie. And that's the problem. People don't want to hear the truth. That's what I kind of come to a conclusion about the last 10 years. People don't want to hear the truth. They want to be lied to. The fight that we fighting right now to get Trump elected, this is for all of us. This is for the gusto. It's for us to have individual. It's about your pocketbook. It's about your family's prosperity and not allowing government to toll over you. It's literally like cops pulling up on you next to your car and you checking for your seatbelt. You getting all fixated and they work for you. What happened to the interaction? What happened to the protocols? What happened to the understanding of what a cop's purpose is in the actual citizen? That when they pull up to next to a person, we automatically, psychologically adjust ourselves to please the cops when they should be pleasing us. I love cops. I don't have no problem with cops and law enforcement. I back the blue. But I'm just saying, like, just the mindset, if we're like that in our own neighborhoods, in our own city, where every precinct and the police department that's around you work on the behalf of the people, and we got so many rules and statutes put in place and violations and regulations put in place that we don't even know how to have a respect for ourselves. When a higher authority or an elite come around. So you guys, Trump accomplishes all the stuff that he's been accomplishing for the last 40 years, and you think he should shrivel up and be weak for John McCain, any president, any politician, any like system that we got here, that he's lawfully doing what he's supposed to do, and it's his constitutional right to do what he's doing. And we say that he should be scared of his own shadow. Because who's our shadow? The government. They're supposed to have our back. We're supposed to be able to know that we have a powerful government there to back us up. Cops in our precinct, in our area, disenfranchises our rights. The FBI is supposed to come in on the behalf to make sure that we rightfully. That's why they got FBI departments or FBI departments in every single state and city, because they're supposed to be the ones to come and make sure that everything is going according to plan. But everybody doing like now, we're not really gonna do that. We can skip over that. We don't got to look at every single file in the city. Yes, you are. FBI is supposed to be able to look at every file that's going on in the city to make sure every single case that prosecutors and a whack-ass grand jury brings to indictment that is just. It's ridiculous. I could go on forever about this stuff. But, so all this military stuff trying to make Trump sound like he's Hitler, and calls military veterans suckers and losers. They can only come up with fake stuff like that because his interaction with McCain, and their whole thought process is, I dare you talk about McCain like that. I dare you be so individual that you think that you can communicate with John McCain like that. Fuck John McCain. I'll say it again. I know I already said it again. I know look, I told you guys in the previous episode, this ain't gonna be pretty. I gotta talk with the passion that I have. I can't be trying to sugarcoat this, because I think suburban parents, suburban whites, white female vote, and the college graduates in the suburban neighborhoods, and all you whack ass people, I think you guys are destructive to this country, because you got your sanctimonious ways is destroying this country. Like, decorum is the way that we should conduct ourselves. No way. Decorum is killing our country. It's killing America. And that's why I really mean that. Decorum is killing our country. It's ridiculous. So let's go recap. Let me put you guys in context to the crappy shit that they just released a day ago about John Kelly saying that Trump say he loves Hitler and he loves. It's like this is all emotional, personal perspectives, and they say, oh, we got corroborating evidence. We got a second anonymous person that says that story is true. We got a third anonymous person that says that's true. And where do they work? Oh, they both work in government, and they all start like, why would Trump say something that's totally destructive to his actual what he's trying to accomplish, where he's losing his company and he's losing his life and his freedom to accomplish? Why would he give that all up to say something that's gonna be misconstrued or be took it wrongfully to a stranger? They act like Trump talking to John Kelly like they best of friends. They had problems day one when he came in as his chief of staff. Day one. And now he's telling him all kind of I'm gonna say this stuff about veterans. You ain't gonna say nothing, are you? You ain't gonna tell on me, are you? You ain't gonna write it in your book, are you? You ain't gonna go on every news channel and tell everybody. Of course they are. Ridiculous. Don't make no sense. So you know it's fake. You know it's a lie. Your common sense would tell you it's a lie. But they get it all out of his back and forth with John McCain. But that's between them two. John McCain ain't beyond criticism, no matter what the low blow hit is. You dish it, get ready to take it.
You know, it's a great applause line, and obviously they appreciate it. But referring to people as rapists, referring to John McCain, a war hero, 5.5 years as a POW, and you call him a dummy. Is that appropriate in running for president?
Okay, you got to let me speak, though, Frank, because you interrupt all the time, okay? So, no, I know him too well. That's the problem. Let's take John McCain. I'm in Phoenix. We have a meeting that is going to have 500 people at the Biltmore Hotel. We get a call from the hotel. It's turmoil. Thousands and thousands of people are showing up. 3-4 days before, they're pitching tents on the hotel grass. The hotel says, we can't handle it. It's going to destroy the hotel. We move it to the convention center. We have 15,000 people. The biggest one ever, bigger than Bernie Sanders, bigger than 15,000 people showed up to hear me speak, bigger than anybody, and everybody knows it. A beautiful day with incredible people that were wonderful, great Americans, I will tell you. John McCain goes, oh boy, Trump makes my life difficult. He had 15,000 crazies show up, crazies. He called them all crazy. I said, they weren't crazy. They were great Americans. These people, if you would have seen these people, I know what crazy is. I know all about crazies. These weren't crazy. So he insulted me, and he insulted everybody in that room. And I said, somebody should run against John McCain, who has been, in my opinion, not so hot. And I supported him. I supported him for president. I raised $1 million for him. It's a lot of money. I supported him. He lost. He let us down. But, he lost. So I never liked him as much after that, because I don't like losers. But Frank, let me get to it. He hit me. He's not a war hero.
He's a war hero.
He's a war hero.
5.5 years.
He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay? I hate to tell you.
Do you agree with that?
He's a war hero because he was captured, okay? You could have, and I believe perhaps he's a war hero, but right now he said some very bad things about a lot of people. So what I said is, John McCain, I disagree with him that these people aren't crazy. And, very importantly, and I speak the truth, he graduated last in his class at Annapolis. So I said, nobody knows that. I said he graduated last or second to last. He graduated last in his class at Annapolis. And he was upset. I said, why, for telling the truth? See, you're not supposed to say that somebody graduated last or second to last in their class, because you're supposed to be, like Frank says, very nice. Folks, I want to make America great again. We want to get down to brass tacks. We don't want to listen to his stuff with being politically correct and everything has to. We have a lot of work to do. Frank, the other day, Hillary Clinton got up and she said, I didn't like Mr. Trump's tone. We have people, Christians, having their heads cut off in the Middle East. We have people dying all over the border, where I was right, 100% right. We have all of this, like medieval times, and she said, I didn't like his tone. And you know who else said that? Jeb Bush. I didn't like his tone. What does it have to do with tone? We want results. This group wants results. We don't want tone.
Absolutely. And that's the problem. Everybody want to they want tone, they want the demeanor, political perception of things, but not really what it is and what's been asked for there. So that's the context of that situation, and why he even said a comment about I like soldiers that's not captured. It's you got to put it in context. Like, yes, it sounds brutal and it's a low blow if you just kind of how the media kind of snip it up, but you got to put it in context, and now you understand, okay? But this ain't look, man, look. Frank Luntz, the guy that was interviewing him, in that clip they didn't show it to you, but I'll show it.
Strategist and CBS News contributor Frank Luntz was interviewing Donald Trump in Iowa, where he made those comments about Senator McCain. Frank is in CBS News.
And you got to understand, when he did that comment on stage, that was July 20th, 2015. So he was a joke to everybody right there. He was a joke. He was a joke, and people shouldn't even have took him serious. It was just stupid. This guy is so dumb. He don't know how to conduct himself and be presidential and everything like that. At that time, they thought that was the worst thing he could have said in the world, and ain't no way he was going to win the presidential election.
Contributor Frank Luntz was interviewing Donald Trump in Iowa, where he made those comments about Senator McCain. Frank is with us from Los Angeles. Good morning.
Good morning.
So you said on Face the Nation that this could be a turning point. Is it a turning point?
I think it's even more significant. In the last 24 hours, the fact that Trump has still refused to back down, the fact that he wrote that op-ed tells me that he is absolutely, positively in this race to stay. And in fact, Charlie, let's take this a step further. I believe...
And he wrote an op-ed to explain why he had said what he said about John McCain and how, like, just a back and forth. So that's what it is.
If this continues to become even more contentious between Trump and the Republican Party, then we have to start to consider the possibility of a third-party movement. That Donald Trump has the money that Ross Perot had. He has an even greater degree of commitment to this race. He doesn't play by the rules that any other candidate plays. And in fact, in response to a question from the audience as I was interviewing him, he markedly refused to commit to support the Republican nominee. That this could be the beginning of a third-party candidacy.
So it may be contentious, Frank, but how do you explain he is still #1 in the polls?
Because, and that's a great question, there's a segment of American society that has had it with politicians that seem to be structured, that use poll-tested phrases, that Donald Trump says what a lot of people are thinking but are unwilling to say. And so they gravitate to that. But what's different about this time is that when you attack the veteran community as they perceive it to be an attack, and I've done my research over the last 24 hours, that you can ignore certain segments of American society in a Republican primary. Veterans matter. And this is going to be a very tough time for Donald Trump, but he is not backing down, and there's no way he's going to apologize.
Does what he's saying damage at all the Republican brand?
It could, because it just makes all of this almost like a circus. But what bothers me the most is that we're so early into this process, and they're already using such horrific language to attack each other, that when you've got a combination of 10...
2015, like he was unfavorable. You get what I'm saying? 33 to 61. It's ridiculous.
Tens or hundreds of millions of dollars to spend, and candidates that are prepared to say just about anything about each other. This could be the ugliest campaign in modern times, and we already know that at least one of these candidates, Donald Trump, is prepared to go ugly early.
But
So I just want you guys to get context to it. So let's look at you know, cause this ain't in no it's got context to it. That's what I'm trying to tell you guys. So let's
certainly a good percentage of it. One of the reasons that there was a controversy involving you and Trump was your remark about crazies who were supporting Trump. Do you regret making that remark? And if not, who are the crazies? Who are they?
Listen, it was meant in jest. As I mentioned, I have town hall meetings all over Arizona, and a guy stands up and says, "You're crazy." So I view it as a term of endearment. But look, everybody in my state is entitled to their views. A lot of them are from other places, and I enjoy the give and take with them. And if anybody was offended, then certainly I'm sorry. But the way we have a pretty rough and tumble game that we play in politics in Arizona.
You hear that? Rough and tumble game. You know what I'm saying? Like he's admitting to like just the dogmaticness of how the politics work. You get what I'm saying? And you guys on the sideline being losers in your life, trying to act like, oh, he should have said that. He should have said that to John McCain. John McCain said all kind of wild stuff out there too. Trump got his supporters, and he loves his supporters. And and then people gonna brand him. You know how he is about branding, and if a politician gonna brand them as crazies and stuff, and that start to get around to every media outlet and everything, and that's just how people perceived him. Trump was ahead of the game. He attacked it a whole lot earlier than most people would have. So that's John McCain telling you that he going below the belt. You know what I'm saying? That he's also going below the belt.
Can I ask you one final thing and
Sure.
then pass it on to Willie? Donald Trump keeps, you can tell that you got under his skin when you called his supporters crazies. Do you regret doing that?
Oh, listen, you know my state is a very dynamic and divisive state, and we've got lots of arguments and lots of debates going on. I have hundreds of town hall meetings all over Arizona, and I'm called crazy by the people that come there. I thought it was a term of endearment.
Willie guys.
Okay, so no apology for that.
Oh, listen, I love the debate, and I love my people, and so I meant it in a way that, in a term of affection, to be honest with you.
Okay, so stop, y'all. They're going back and forth, him trolling him and talking about he like his soldiers that are not captured. That wasn't meant for all soldiers. It was because his back and forth that he had with John McCain. Okay, put it in context. You get what I'm saying? Put it in context. Don't act like y'all just dropped off a turnip truck. You get what I'm saying? Y'all know what's up. It's ridiculous. Let me go back to that to put it in context. Play a clip for y'all. I have so many clips here.
Seems to be the case, John.
Mr. President, I just want to ask you about something you said a while back that's been talked about many, many times. Back in 2015, you said that you didn't think John McCain was a hero, that you prefer people who don't get captured. In light of all that's happened since then and all you've learned, do you regret saying that? Is it something you wish you had not said?
I say what I say, and I never got along with John McCain. I disagreed with John McCain. You know that better than anybody, frankly. I wasn't a fan. I disagreed with many of his views. I disagreed with his views on these ridiculous, endless wars. I disagreed with the way he handled the vets, the VA. The VA is running much better now, and we did with the Mission Act and the accountability and all the things we've done for the VA. He was not able to do that, but I disagreed with John McCain on a lot of things. That doesn't mean I don't respect him. I respected him, but I really disagreed with him on a lot of things, and I think I was right. I think time has proven me right to a large extent.
Okay. So, okay, that's fast forward him as the president, and that was his comment on it. But the military hated, the media hated, the suburban educated hated, the white female vote hated, and that's why he gets so much pushback. And that's what helped him not have the amount of numbers to stop the cheating or overdo the cheating that was going on in the 2020, and he lost the 2020 election. That's what happened, okay? I'm giving you guys context because you're so dumb that you listen to anything that's been said by somebody without context. Okay? So now we go to this idiot John Kelly and deal with what he's been doing for the last 10 damn years.
Swore in General Kelly. He will do a spectacular job, I have no doubt, as Chief of Staff. What he's done in terms of homeland security is record-shattering. You look at the border, you look at the tremendous results we've had, and you look at the spirit. And with a very controversial situation, there's been very little controversy, which is pretty amazing by itself. So I want to congratulate you on having done a fantastic job, General, and we look forward to
this crappy, is evil person. He look all cool and like a decent guy, but he's not, man. He's like a system spy, a system, like he trying to handle Trump, but he thought he was more man than Trump. But when he comes in front of Trump, like, dude, why you guys think like a person that can make $3 to $4 billion, lose it, and then remake it again, but this time go to $16 billion in liquid and assets. Why do you think that you're going to come in front? I don't care if you're a 4-star general. Why y'all think y'all going to come in front of him and he's going to be like, oh my God, you're a military soldier. You're a real war hero. Oh my God, I whatever I've done in business, you're everything. What do you want me to do? How should I do that? Like what kind of weak person do y'all think Trump is? He's giving him respect, but he's not. He's not gonna lose his confidence of himself because John Kelly is there and he's a 4-star general. Fuck him and his 4 stars. McMillan, he's a 4-star general. Fuck you and your 4 stars. These are real men stuff. He's the president of the United States. He accomplished to become president, and he gonna dilute himself for John Kelly. So John Kelly, and I'm telling you guys this because you guys, the media only tells you the part that you need to know, that to drive a perception that they want you to have. But just think about, why are these two guys having such a major conflict? Because that's how they was in the White House. He had something going on, and John Kelly would come to him and say, hey man, like, did he let him do that? I tell you, John Kelly came in there and he fired Omarosa. He fired a lot of people just to make it more presidential or more government structure around the White House. So he fired people that he just felt like y'all too much of a citizens. Y'all like having regular people working here. We need people that's been in the system, been in the government, been working for government for a long time to be in the White House. We just don't want a bunch of like random Americans running around here helping the president. That's how John Kelly thought. And so he started firing everybody. Trump didn't like it. He didn't like it, but he's trying to see let me see what this guy's doing. Let me see how he's going to manage all this stuff. And when he seen that he was a piece of shit in managing it, they start having conflict. Oh, sir, I don't think you should do that. I think you should do it like this. Oh, sir, I think you should hold off on that. Oh, I say, yeah. Stop talking. That's what's going on. Yeah. Stop. That's what's going on. No. I'm the president. This is what we're going to do. You get in line. And he's telling that to Kelly. Kelly don't like it. So, but I'm glad that historically he's showing respect, and you're seeing him show respect.
Thank you very much. We'll see you. General Kelly, he will do a spectacular job, I have no doubt, as Chief of Staff.
He was over at Homeland Security, and he promoted him to be his Chief of Staff, or John Kelly decided that he wanted to be his Chief of Staff to have more hands on him.
Done in terms of Homeland Security is record-shattering. You look at the border, you look at the tremendous results we've had, and you look at the spirit. And with a very controversial situation, there's been very little controversy, which is pretty amazing by itself. So I want to congratulate you on having done a fantastic job, General, and we look forward to, if it's possible, an even better job as Chief of Staff. Thank you very much. We'll see you in the boardroom.
Mr. President, how do you expect things will be different under
You guys got the door
General
behind you. Thanks, guys.
I think we've done very well. We've done very well. Lots of records created, John. You look at stock markets, the highest it's ever been. Unemployment, lowest in 17 years.
We want to tell you this. This show is learning tonight, this is a Fox News alert from well-informed sources in the administration, that White House Chief of Staff General John Kelly may be preparing to leave his job, likely very soon. Now, Kelly is an honorable and capable man, one of the most impressive ever to hold that post, and many will be sad to see him go, me included. The question is, who replaces him? Now, apparently there are several contenders tonight. Those would include OMB Director Mick Mulvaney. Mulvaney is a whiz on budget matters. Does he agree with the president's core promises on immigration, though? Can he represent the interests of Trump's voters on border enforcement? That is not a small thing. It ought to be an absolute requirement for that job, White House Chief of Staff. Also on the list we are hearing is former aide Hope Hicks. Now, Hope Hicks is young and generally press shy. Is one of the very...
Hope Hicks, she should have been his chief of staff from the day one. Day one. Day one. She's a loyal, honorable, highly integrity person. She should have been, and she's been with him forever in Trump organization. She should have been, and she's a pit bull to everybody else. She's very mild manner and everything like that. But if she gotta put people in her place, put them in their place, she's got the training, and she absolutely know how to put very powerful people in their place, and not scared to take on other leaders and put them in their place on the behalf of Trump. She should have been his chief of staff from the get-go. And if he's smart, he'll do it this time if he wins. Put Hope Hicks back in. She gave up a lot, and she's loyal, honorable person. So you know, I can't understand. That's who he should do. But this is all this. I'm taking y'all back to his first presidency, to kind of get you guys back in track to understand the context of what just got released a couple of days ago, yesterday. So I just want to make sure that when I start lunching up on podcasters and Republicans and these hacks out here making millions of dollars, y'all giving y'all super chats to, y'all banking them up, y'all leveling them up, and they got no substance to the fight that we having right now. We're gonna put this in context for real.
Hope Hicks. Now, Hope Hicks is young and generally press shy. Relatively few outside of Washington have even heard her speak. But in a White House riven by factionalism and leaking, Hicks is one of the very few people in Washington, maybe the very few people on the planet, who has the reflexive trust of the president.
Absolutely.
We could use more people like that, for sure, at a time like this. We'll keep you posted as to what we hear on that.
But just like it's back in the days, even like and I'm pretty sure even to the like today, I'm pretty sure Tucker changed his way and I don't care who General Kelly is, he's a slime ball.
Apparently, there are several contenders tonight. Those would include informed sources in the administration that White House Chief of Staff General John Kelly may be preparing to leave his job, likely very soon. Now, Kelly is an honorable and capable man, one of the most impressive ever to hold that post.
Yeah, he may be capable, and he may be impressive to hold that job with his 4 stars or his general bullshit, but he ain't honorable. He ain't honorable. This man got no integrity, no honor, no loyalty, none, zero. And without those 3, I don't care about your capability. You teach anybody 10,000 hours to do their job, they'll be good at it. And have them in military from the ground up for 20, 30 years, you'll be good at it too, just as valuable as he is. So, but the challenge is when it's time for absolute loyalty, absolute integrity, absolute honorability, he suck. He suck.
Well, we begin with that breaking news. President Donald Trump saying his chief of staff, John Kelly, is leaving the White House by the end of the year. Now, Trump made that announcement just a short time ago. He added that the former Marine general has been a loyal aide during his time on the job. Well, with that, let's bring in the CBC's Stephen D'Souza. He's in New York tracking the latest on this one for us. You know, Steve, as we note the fact that John Kelly is now going to be leaving by the end of the year, we have to say there has been speculation for a long time that this was coming.
That's right. This really has been the long goodbye for John Kelly. It's just as early as the summer back in July where it was reported that Donald Trump had asked John Kelly to stay on until 2020. But at the same time, though, we've also heard a lot of reports that the relationship soured and that the two, even in the last few days, simply haven't been talking to each other. And so let's listen now just to what Donald Trump said this afternoon as he spoke to reporters about Kelly's departure.
John Kelly will be leaving, but I don't know if I can say retiring, but he's a great guy. John Kelly will be leaving at the end of the year. We'll be announcing who will be taking John's place. It might be on an interim basis. I'll be announcing that over the next day or two, but John will be leaving at the end of the year. He's been with me almost 2 years now, as you know, between the two positions. So we're probably going to see him in a little while.
Okay.
As Chief of Staff John Kelly has been
till 2020, but at the same time, though,
he's a great guy. John Kelly will be leaving at the end.
Apologize for the buffering, guys.
End of the year, we'll be announcing who will be taking John's place. It might be on an interim basis. I'll be announcing that over the next day or two, but John will be leaving at the end of the year. He's been with me almost 2 years now, as you know, between the two positions. So we're probably going to see him in a little while.
Now, John Kelly was brought in to replace.
Okay. So the only reason why I'm taking you through that because I want you to kind of get the timeline on a lot of this stuff. You get what I'm saying? And for the narrative that, you know, and the suckers and losers type of stuff, that was John Kelly putting that stuff out there. You get what I'm saying? Let me let you watch this so you can understand that I'm not just saying this stuff out of my health.
Earlier about the Atlantic story, and you referenced the number of administration officials who have come out to support your...
No, we have 11 people. I was just told we have 11 people. There is nobody that feels more strongly about our soldiers, our wounded warriors, our soldiers that died in war than I do. It's a hoax. Just like the fake dossier was a hoax. Just like the Russia was a hoax. It was a total hoax, no collusion. Just like so many other things, it's a hoax. And you'll hear more of these things, totally unrelated, as we get closer and closer to election. The magazine is a failing magazine, and nobody called me. Nobody called me from the magazine and said, "Do you have a comment about it?" No, they just write whatever they want to write, because they figure you can't get sued. You can get sued, but it's a very hard bringing lawsuits. But we have many witnesses, and it's just a continuation of the witch hunt so that it can hopefully affect the election. But the American people are too smart. So whether it's the fake dossier that turned out to be a total fraud or so many other things have turned out. I've been under investigation from before I even got elected. These people have gone after me more than any president in the United States in the history of the United States. And it's a shame. It's a shame. And despite that, we've done more in the first 3.5 years than any administration. There's been no administration that's done more. When you add it all up, there's been no, despite all of the horrible political games that have been played, but there's nobody that's been able to do what I've done. And that includes the Great Mission Act, because what Obama passed was a joke. It was a joke. And we took it to a level that nobody thought possible. And that includes accountability. So it's a disgrace that somebody's allowed to write things like that. It could have been, a lot of times the sources aren't sources that don't exist. And sometimes the sources are just people that are disgruntled former so-called employees.
Well, my question is sort of about that. I mean, the notable voice that's been missing from the denials is your former chief of staff, John Kelly, who was obviously intimately involved in this. How are we supposed to read the fact that John Kelly hasn't?
I know John Kelly. He was with me, didn't do a good job, had no temperament, and ultimately he was petered out. He was exhausted. This man was totally exhausted. He wasn't even able to function in the last number of months. He was not able to function. He was sort of a tough guy. By the time he got eaten up in this world, it's a different world than he was used to, he was unable to function. And
I told him, John, you're going to have to go. Please give me a letter of resignation. And we did that. And now he goes out and badmouths. Now, there are people that are jealous. There are people that are upset that they're not here anymore. There are people that we've done an incredible job. The virus came in, and now we're doing an incredible job again. We're going to build it up bigger than it was before the virus came in. But I don't know that it was him. I haven't seen that. I mean, I see anonymous, but it could have been a guy like a John Kelly. Because just so you understand, he was a very, you look at some of his news conferences, what happened to him. He got eaten alive. He was unable to handle the pressure of this job. This job was a tough job. Mark Meadows doing a great job. But Kelly was unable to do that. And as far as that day, I mean, we have so much proof as to going to I went to Paris and the environs, and I was all set to go. They had a rainstorm, the likes of which you've rarely seen. The fog was so great. It was as dense as I've ever seen, and I almost knew that you couldn't use the helicopter. And because they had to drive through, I guess, certain parts of Paris, the Secret Service, who, by the way, we have people here that were on the trip. They're writing a report, unable to even think about it. And I said, nope, I want to go. I insist on going. It would have taken us forever. The Paris police said, please, you can't do this. They'd have to shut down various parts of Paris. And it just was not a possible situation. The helicopter would have been very quick. They had the helicopter all set, but the helicopter could never fly in that kind of weather. So, and that turned out, and that's all documented, by the way. We have all of the information from, and probably will release that information. But I think it's a shame when a second-rate magazine, I don't read it. I know very little about this magazine, but when a second-rate magazine can write things like that about somebody that's done so much for the military, can write things like that and get away with it, where you actually ask questions on it, it's a disgrace. And you ought to be ashamed of yourself. And let me just tell you, I watched the interview with Sleepy Joe Biden, and he didn't ask questions. You didn't ask questions like that. Read the questions, yes. They were like meant for a child. Those questions were meant for a child. Smiles on faces of reporters, not like you and you. There were smiles on the reporters. What do you think? Take a look at those questions that they asked him. They were not meant for a grown-up. They were meant for a child. So I just want to tell you, it's a disgrace, because you look at what I've done for the United States military. I love those people. I've gotten them pay raises when they didn't get anything near what I've been able to do. And I've rebuilt $2.5 trillion. I've rebuilt the United States military. Now we're including Space Force. Nobody's done more for them. And then when I have to have a report read like that from a third-rate magazine that's not going to be in business much longer, I look at that and I think it's a disgrace. And then when I watch Biden getting asked questions that are really meant for a child to answer, anybody could answer, and I look at the level of question that you people ask, I mean, honestly, it's disgraceful. So I want to thank you all very much. We appreciate it, and we're doing very well. We're very, very proud of what's happened with respect to the economy. And I think that before the election, you're going to see a third quarter announced. The third quarter will be at a level that our country has never seen before. Next year, we're going to have a year that was better than last year. And I feel very certain it'll be better than last year. It'll be the greatest year we've had. And the whole reason this is working out this way is because we set a foundation for this country like we've never had before. So next year is going to be a fantastic year. But remember this, the third quarter is going to be announced sometime prior to the election, by a few days, actually. And I think it's going to be record-setting type numbers on GDP and other things. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Did you stand by Robert Kelly's grave and say to his father, I don't get it? What was in it for them, sir?
The reporters are retarded. But see, the reason why I'm making you guys watch that, because I want you to get the context of all the crazy stuff that they did to him and during his presidency and stuff, and just the narratives and the negative stuff that he put out there, and that soldiers and military people, they believe that stuff.
Losers and suckers. A bombshell report from The Atlantic late last week cited President Donald Trump using those words to describe dead U.S. service members.
The president has denied making the comments. Garrett Berger talked with one of the first U.S. service members wounded in Iraq, a former Marine here in San Antonio, about his thoughts on the president.
Okay, sorry about that, guys. I'm just trying to see why my stuff is not. It's going a little slow or something.
Losers and suckers. A bombshell report from The Atlantic late last week cited President Donald Trump using those words to describe dead U.S. service members.
The president has denied making the comments. Garrett Berger talked with one of the first U.S. service members wounded in Iraq, a former Marine here in San Antonio, about his thoughts on the president's reported remarks.
About 3 hours into the ground invasion of Iraq in 2003, Marine Staff Sergeant Eric Alva stepped on a landmine, which resulted in the loss of his right leg.
Okay, hold on a second. We get some sticking, man. We get some major sticking. I don't like it. Try to see what's going on here. Stream setting. That's that. Cause I'm streaming. Yeah, it's such a good episode. I don't want to stop it and restart my stream. Yeah. Give me a second. I'm going to see if I can stop the stream and come back in, guys.
The president has denied making the comments. Garrett Berger talked with one of the first U.S. service members wounded in Iraq, a former Marine here in San Antonio, about his thoughts on the president's reported remarks.
About 3 hours into the ground invasion of Iraq in 2003, Marine Staff Sergeant Eric Alva stepped on a landmine, which resulted in the loss of his right leg.
Looked like I was able to come back in real quick and do it.
The Purple Heart, but in service
okay,
of
so let's rewind that back, and look like it's working a little bit better than it was before. So let's go.
Losers and suckers. A bombshell report from The Atlantic late last week cited President Donald Trump using those words to describe dead U.S. service members.
The president has denied making the comments. Garrett Berger talked with one of the first U.S. service members wounded in Iraq, a former Marine here in San Antonio, about his thoughts on the president's reported remarks.
About 3 hours into the ground invasion of Iraq in 2003, Marine Staff Sergeant Eric Alva stepped on a landmine, which resulted in the loss of his right leg. He received a medal no one ever strives for, the Purple Heart, but in service of a country he was willing to get it for.
We're not losers. We're not suckers. We're patriots.
A recent report in The Atlantic details disparaging remarks President Donald Trump.
And I just wanted to show you guys that military soldiers, I already played that clips in the previous episode, but they're taking on this narrative that's from the enemies within. This is what he's talking about when he's talking about the enemies within.
Your voice, your vote. Multiple media outlets tonight reporting that President Donald Trump made disparaging comments about America's fallen troops, including calling U.S. Marines killed in World War I, quote, losers and suckers. The reports are spawning nationwide outrage. The president vigorously denies them. Eyewitness News reporter Jory Rand live now with more. Jory.
Mark, 4 years ago, the Access Hollywood tape dropped on October 7th. This time around, it's a month earlier, but this story could have a lasting impact. Also, unlike last time around, as of tonight, there is no tape of this incident, and the president is denying the entire story.
Magazine reporting,
meaning like this was 2020's October surprise, and they just did it again in 2024. So it's just like crazy. And I'm just trying to show you guys a methodical propaganda manipulation of you that they doing, and you gotta allow yourself to have an objective analysis, even on the people that you guys like, that they corrupt and they shady and they pieces of shit.
Tonight that back in 2018, President Trump called fallen U.S. soldiers losers and suckers for getting killed in action. The article citing four.
Atlantic, remember this newspaper, this magazine, Atlantic, because when we show you the stuff they just released a day ago, you'll get it. Atlantic, and it is all this stuff is coming from John Kelly, General John Kelly, whack ass piece of shit, hacky general, 4-star general.
Back in 2018, President Trump called fallen U.S. soldiers losers and suckers for getting killed in action. The article citing
they gonna put Trump
of the situation.
Americans who died in war are losers and suckers. You got to give me factual evidence that he said that.
Military, and I find it absolutely.
And I'm not gonna listen to no Democrat get their opinion about Trump.
It is completely unacceptable.
Reacting on social media tonight, one apparent California woman writing, "This is my grandfather."
See, this is the problem. This is what really hurt Trump in 2020, and we just didn't know it because we wasn't on it, and the Republicans wasn't on it. But now we too schooled for it now. But I still think it just got too much decorum because the Republicans, all of them, the podcasters. Oh, he needs to he needs to just stay on message. Don't say anything. Stay on message. Nah, you let them have the narrative like this, you'll lose. And what y'all do to counteract it? If I don't say nothing, if I don't fight against it, what you're doing to counteract the narrative? Nothing. You gonna trust Charlie Kirk to combat the narrative of them saying that he said that he liked Hitler and he wants people to be loyal to him like Hitler? Like crazy stuff. What's your narrative out there? What's your narrative about this stuff, the suckers and losers stuff? Y'all still dealing with this propaganda. In 2024, what's your narrative? Don't even talk about it. Just ignore it. No, it's playing in military people's head. It's playing in suburban elder people's head that voted against them in 2020. You got to kill that narrative. You got to shame them. Tell them how fucking dumb they are. To believe that stuff, to be propagandized. That's what y'all should be doing. But what y'all doing? Oh, let's just not talk about it. Let's just move on. Let's move on. We're almost winning. We're almost winning. No. You got 20 million people that you could have that are holding on to this stuff from 2020. You gotta win the narrative. You gotta have control of the narrative. It's foolish not to.
And I call on Donald Trump to immediately apologize.
No.
Family members of the fallen reacting
family members of the fallen
on social media tonight. One apparent California woman writing, "This is my grandfather. He was a Marine who took machine gun fire at."
And nobody said nothing like that about your but how can you fight it? It's an invisible attack coming from people that's off the record, or not even off the record. They're anonymous. How do you fight this?
Writing, "This is my grandfather. He was a Marine who took machine gun fire at Below Wood. He was honored by his country and by the people of France. Donald Trump just called him a loser for being wounded in action." And John, listed as being from Orange County, writing, "My grandfather lost at sea in World War II. Trump wondered what was in it for him." Tonight, the president returning from a rally in Pennsylvania, denying the story in its entirety from the tarmac of Joint Base Andrews.
And I would be willing to swear on anything that I never said that about our fallen heroes. There is nobody that respects them more. What animal would say such a thing?
Back in 2015, then candidate Donald Trump said this about then Senator John McCain, who was a prisoner of war for 5 years in Vietnam.
He's not a war hero. He's a war hero. He's a war hero.
5.5 years.
He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay?
The president's opponent.
The point was, he said, what kind of animal would say that about our war vet? Well, you said something like that to McCain. That's the narrative. That's the manipulation. But I already played you guys the context of that. And I even let you see that it was a back and forth of just of attacks from McCain and vice versa, Trump responding to McCain. And because McCain was jealous about his pretty much his popularity, political popularity. So he went out there, he said some wild stuff, and then Trump responded to him. You get what I'm saying? So that's in context, but play in front of this, in the beginning of this episode, I put that all in context. And that's what they referenced as why they believe this sucker and loser thing. But intelligence agencies, the CIA, the FBI, the intelligence agencies, and multi-billion-dollar narrative PR firms, they get in a room and they come up with this way to make his attacks on John McCain echo in time. And it's too hard for you guys to think that our system is that corrupt and manipulating, and it is. This is what we do to other countries. We attack other people's political parties to have them overthrow their governments and all that other stuff. That's what we do. But we end up doing it to ourselves. We're using our espionage tactics on American citizens. Us, the voter. This hit job happened a month before the holiday to hurt him. And it actually made a lot of military vets, people with military vet families, post online and all that stuff. But they were fools. And now you want me to have respect for any of these American citizens that had the nerve to vote against them in 2020 on propaganda. You're a weak-minded person. Boy. And now I'm seeing very strong people that I thought that was actually strong. They propagandize for their own leveling up or their own future business acumen with hip hop stars or like Eminem. I don't want to mess up. I don't want to talk about Eminem. I don't want to analyze what Eminem opening his mouth to say. Hey, as soon as Eminem steps into the political realm, he get it. He get the smoke too. And I'm going to do something separate for him. It's ridiculous.
Former Vice President Joe Biden, whose late son Beau was a member of the Army.
Don't care. See, but this is what I'm just showing you guys how the narrative is out there. It's ridiculous.
And as the comics return to poking fun at the former president, he is getting serious criticism from John Kelly, his former White House chief of staff. As Les Trent reports, Kelly says if Mr. Trump is elected back into the White House, quote, God help us.
Donald Trump back in court today, defiant, slamming the civil fraud case against him.
This case should be dismissed. This is not a case.
Trump does not have to be here, but he's reportedly enjoying the attention, taking full advantage of the horde of reporters gathered at the New York Supreme Court building. At every break, he makes a beeline for the cameras to vent.
This case is a fraud, and it's a scam.
They just handed him a bigger bank of money.
So ridiculous how it's just like I'm glad it's sticking. I don't care. You see, even how this guy's his commentary around it is biased. You get what I'm saying? So I'm not gonna take you guys through that crap. I already proved my point. I really did. But I just want to kind of take you up to the time because now we got to talk about the recent thing that just happened and a recent propaganda that John Kelly just put out there. Okay, it's ridiculous. Trying to see what this is, okay? So it's one thing the Fox News did was to try to kind of ask Trump, like, why did you hire these people and did you learn your lesson? I think this interview was really terrible at the same time too, because it didn't put in perspective that he took advice from the Republican Party and the people he's supposed to be trusting. But let me play to you all the people, because even when Steve Bannon got fired or resigned from Trump, I knew that to stay loyal and respectful to the actual president. And there's a lot of leaders that want the job to be around the president to influence him, but when they find out Trump ain't like no other leaders, like or these fake wannabe leaders. Like, no, he's a leader, and when you say something dumb or something that he thinks, I'll take it under advisement, but nah, I'm gonna go another direction. You get what I'm saying? They shocked by it. And they like, hey man, we're political heads. Why you not listening to us? Because y'all hacks. Y'all hacks.
You're fired. You're fired. You're fired.
Kind of let you kind of see, like in August 2017. Why is all those people leaving those jobs in 2017? That's because what you don't understand. That's John Kelly firing these people. A lot of those people fired. Some of these people were so bad at the actual they were part of the political establishment. Trump got rid of them and stuff. Some people got rid of because the investigation of molars start to come into his team, and they start saying, hey man, I got the FBI and they searching my house. They indicting me and they giving me subpoenas and all the other stuff. So they had to leave just to even work that out. Man, it was, dude, pay attention to this. You get what I'm saying?
Opponent who's leading, the person that's in theory in charge of government. This stuff shouldn't happen.
So what changes would you make?
Strong people, strong government. You know, when I came down to Washington, I was in Washington 17 times in my life in D.C. And I never stayed overnight. I was never there. I didn't know the people. I didn't know that world, other than I was involved in politics from the other side very much. And I put great people in, but I put some people like Bill Barr and Bolton and a few of them that, you know, actually Bolton was good because every time I negotiated, people said, oh, they've got this maniac here. He's going to go to war with us. And they'd concede every point. I mean, it was actually pretty good in a certain way. But we put people in that were great, and we put people in that weren't. I now know Washington probably better than anybody. I know the good ones and the bad ones, and we will have really great, strong people. I already know who they are, but we will have really great, strong people.
Okay. In 2016, you said that. I'm going to surround myself with only the best and most serious people.
Well, I did do that, and we had tremendous, look, we had the best economy we've ever had, the world has ever seen.
Your Vice President, Mike Pence, is running against you.
Yeah.
Your Ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, she's running against you. Your former Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, said he's not supporting you. You mentioned National Security Advisor John Bolton. He's not supporting you either. You mentioned Attorney General Bill Barr, says you shouldn't be president again, calls you the consummate narcissist and troubled man. You recently called Barr a gutless pig. Your second Defense Secretary is not supporting you, called you irresponsible. This week, you and your White House called your White House Chief of Staff, John Kelly, weak and ineffective and born with a very small brain. You called your acting White House Chief of Staff, Mick Mulvaney, a born loser. You called your first Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, dumb as a rock, and your first Defense Secretary, James Mattis, the world's most overrated general. You called your White House Press Secretary, Kayleigh Kennedy, milquetoast, and multiple times you've referred to your Transportation Secretary, Elaine Chao, as Mitch McConnell's China-loving wife. So, why did you hire all of them in the first place?
Because I hired 10 to 1 that were fantastic. We had a great economy. We had phenomenal people in charge of the economy. We had phenomenal people in the military. I'm not a fan of Milley, and I'm not a fan of certain of the television people. But I knocked out ISIS. I defeated ISIS. They said, Mattis, it would take 3 years, and I don't think we can do it. I did it in a period of like 4 weeks.
There's a lot of people who praise you for your policies. I just said that.
That's true. Well, I mean, you just went through a list. But don't forget, for every one you say, I had 10 that love us. And one thing happens, I find, with me that I think didn't happen so much with other presidents. Call it glamorous time, call it whatever. But with me, the Times, the Washington Post, various people, even Fox, because, you know, I'm no great fan of Fox anymore. They fought me very hard. Well, you got to get your word out somehow, right? They fought me very hard in 2016, very much the way they're fighting me now. Very, very hard. And I won. Then they became very nice. But I will tell you that something happens when people leave. They can like me very much. I have this woman named Alyssa Farah. She said the greatest things long after she left. He's the greatest president we've ever had. He was unbelievable, unbelievable. Then The View offered her a contract. But obviously only if she changed her views. And all of a sudden she can say negative things. Money gets offered to people, and some people change.
But there's
I will
people
say
on that list that are not taking money that decided that they're not
for the most
supporting
part,
you.
they are. You know, Barr did a book. Barr was a coward. The people that you name, for every person you name, I can name 20 people that loved the administration. And maybe more importantly, the voters love the administration. The voters are dying to get back to it, Brett. The voters are tired of being laughed at all over the world. We're run by a fool. We're run by a man that doesn't have a clue.
I want to talk about foreign policy, but just to leave this, you have former senior advisor Steve Cortes saying it's going to be tough for you to get the best and the brightest because of some of the name-calling of people who left.
Well,
so
again,
what do you say to that?
Cortez is a nice person, but I didn't give him the job he wanted because I didn't think he was qualified. Then he went over to the Sanctimonious's camp. I didn't give him the job. So I'd probably say the same kind of thing if I wouldn't get a job, if somebody wants a job. And a lot of the people that you mentioned there, they didn't get the job. A couple of them weren't made permanent. I didn't want to make them permanent because I didn't think they were good enough. Now, during the course of that 4 years, I know the best people. Remember this, we took out ISIS.
Okay, so that's the end of that. So just to show you, like, just the narrative kind of, he said, hey, I can't get a good narrative from nobody around here, not even Fox and everything. He said, then why are you here? He said, you got to get your word out whatever way you can. You get what I'm saying? It's just like, it's common sense why he's there, you idiot. Don't mean he trusts you. He still don't trust you. So now we get to the newest propaganda.
What do you think? Do you think he's a fascist?
Well, I'm looking at the definition of fascism. It's a far-right, authoritarian, ultra-nationalist political ideology and movement characterized by a dictatorial leader, centralized autocracy, militarism, forcible suppression of opposition, belief.
Now he's reading the definition of fascism. And I guess he's going to read it and say, yeah, well, that's him. It's fucking crazy, man.
What do you think? Do you think he's a fascist?
Well, I'm looking at the definition of fascism.
And this is Atlantic again. Atlantic Magazine again in 2024. And in October 22nd, 2024, he had this interview, and this is what John Kelly is saying: hiding, not coming on the news. I'm pretty sure the Trump supporters and a lot of people gonna call him out. He gonna bring his punk ass to the news, but he still, whatever he says ain't worth shit, because he's a liar, and he's doing it for the greater good. So he's willing to discredit himself in order to get it done, to hurt him, if it's any, like, look, I think if you're a piece of shit, weak ass suburban mom or college tuition suburban college person, or a veteran, or a family of a veteran that you felt like Trump's called soldiers, losers, suckers and losers, you ain't still gonna vote for him. So get the fuck out of here. We already replaced y'all.
Far-right, authoritarian, ultra-nationalist political ideology and movement characterized by a dictatorial leader, centralized autocracy, militarism, forcible suppression of opposition, belief in a natural social hierarchy. So certainly, in my experience, those are the kind of things that he thinks could work better in terms of running America. Again, back to this issue of democracy is complicated, messy to operate. Probably the worst kind of government there is, except for all the other ones. I think Churchill once said that. And again, our Constitution, our founders built in to the Constitution and to the way our government operates, built in a lot of checks and balances, and didn't design the government streamline.
But what if those check and balances don't do the check and balances and they become a totalitarian, and they kind of really believe in both other things, even if they're supposed to check and balance? What if you become a crazy government? I always tell people, man, I don't care what nobody say about this black and white stuff, slavery and all that stuff. No president had the amount of power that President Obama had. Maybe George Washington. Maybe. Every agency loved President Obama. The CIA, the FBI, the Pentagon, the intelligence agency, all of them. He had all the Hollywood people. He had even the Republican Party was supporting him. The power that President Obama had to his administration, and he decided to spend all his power up on LGBTQ community and bringing in illegal immigrants. That's what he spent up his power on. You get what I'm saying? Fuck the black people. He spent his power up on them. And black people wouldn't even get any consideration right now if it wasn't for black men saying, fuck Kamala. It's ridiculous. I know I'm being a little bit aggressive and a little bit wild, and I'm kind of taking myself out of who could use my content and all that stuff, but this is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's a truth that's been blatant and known, and we acting like we don't even see it and we don't hear it. So who stops a government from when they... So who watches the watchers when the watchers supposed to have watch over the three branches of government? Congress supposed to check the president. The president supposed to check the Congress. The Supreme Court supposed to check the president in the Congress. Those are check and balances of our government.
And whatnot. So, but certainly the former president is in the far right area, certainly an authoritarian, admires people who are dictators. He has said that.
Admire people that he all this is speculation and him theorizing how the psychosis of Trump is, and he likes dictator. He said that, and all he's doing is going on to the media, always talking about him. Trump is always giving respect to Putin and Kim Jong-un. So he said dictators, and he referencing that, and he just throws that comment out there like that.
So he certainly falls into the general definition of fascist, for sure.
Ridiculous.
If he was left to his own devices, would he be a dictator if he didn't have people around him?
Oh, I think he'd love to be. I think he'd love to be just like he was in business. He could tell people to do things and they would do it. And
he's the president. When it comes to his staff, he tell them what to do and they do it. If we don't like what he do, then we vote him out or Congress impeaches him. It's already checks and balances already there and removed. Impeach and remove. You a bitch. If I tell you to do something, you do it. You're an employee of the president. Talking about, oh, you like to be like in his business. If he tells a person what to do, they just do it. You better have been doing it. So already you admitting that you was insubordinate. You was an insubordinate of the president as his chief of staff. Dude, this is crazy. This is my first time listening to this too, y'all, so I'm not going to be too calm and respectful about this. I'm not, because I don't like it already.
If he was left to his own devices, would he be a dictator if he didn't have people around him?
Oh, I think he'd love to be. I think he'd love to be just like he was in business. He could tell people to do things and they would do it, and not really bother too much about whether what the legalities were and whatnot. But again, I didn't know him before, so I can't really.
Yeah, because you're an idiot, dog. You a fucking idiot. You just said it. Look, it don't matter what legality. This guy went 40 years with the attorney general in New York, with the governors of New York, with the mayors in New York, with the DOJ, with the IRS, trying to find something on him to criminalize him. He went 40 years, no issues, no criminal convictions, none of that stuff. And then he gets into the White House, and then you guys make up bullshit to try to put on him. He ran a company dealing with legalities, okay? With legal situations. If he was a clown trying to be a shady, criminal ass businessman, it would have been all over his company. All over his company. They had to put a law into New York to prosecute him on the actual 34 counts of paying his lawyer, because his lawyer did a NDA with a porn star, but he was paying his lawyer his $35,000 a month retainer fee, and all they could see is that he paid him 12 months worth of $35,000 to be his retainer fee. But because his lawyer got into tax evasion stuff for some other businesses that he had, and he did pay his taxes right, he tried to not go to jail by trying to come up with stuff on Trump for New York. And then that's why they brought that case against him, to indict him that he told him to pay the porn star and to do the NDA and to do a mortgage on his house. It's ridiculous, man. This is ridiculous. So they had to create something to indict him more, and then it's terrible. I wouldn't live in New York, and I wouldn't trust any of those idiots. If you got 12 juries I got the case files. I got the evidence. And if they found him guilty on that, New York is not to be trusted. Not to be trusted. It's a bad place to do business. It's a bad place to interact. And most of the people that come from there, I ain't doing no business with them. I ain't interacting with them. And if I find out you from there, I got to see what your mindset is. Because I'm no way getting it. Y'all mentality, 12 jurors came up with the same conclusion? Trying to put this guy in the jail for 134 years, 34 counts, 4 years per count. This is ridiculous, man. So that's the only legal stuff he got into. And guess what? When they tried to say that he overinflated his value of his company, that was an illegal prosecution that got put on it. It went all the way to the appellate court. They about to throw it all out. He's supposed to pay $470 million for it. They just fined him that, just out of nowhere. Judge just fined him that. They about to throw that whole case out. It's ridiculous, man. Trump, one thing you could say about Trump is he's all legality. He's all in the legal situation, and he's going by the code, tax code, and whatever the law is, and he's abiding by it, and he's doing whatever he can within the confine of it. So that's all lies. You ain't got nothing but evidence that he followed the law.
If he was...
And I think this issue of where, I think he'd love to be. I think he'd love to be just like he was in business. He could tell people to do things and they would do it, and not really bother too much about whether what the legalities were and whatnot. But again, I didn't know him before, so I can't really.
If he was...
And they cut something.
And
yeah,
this
see?
issue of,
It's not even a full recording.
Military, to go after American citizens is one of those things I think is a very, very bad thing. Oh, I think
like, he ain't talking about sicking the military on American citizens. He just said he ain't letting no citizens burn down the cities no more. He's gonna put the National Guards in there, and he's gonna make a mandate for them to stop that. But at the same time, that's a state issue. He's gonna have to let cities get burned down if that ever happened again. So yeah, the rhetoric of wanting to stop it is a conversation, but Trump knows, man, even the military, they would tell him like, hey, we can't do that. You know what I mean? And plus, look, come on, this is all hyper politic, the edginess of politics to carry out the narrative of law and order that he's trying to make sure that he puts, because that's what the people are voting for. If 60 to 70%, I'm telling y'all, and I'll say this again, and I said this in a previous episode, Trump never was up in the polls in 2016 or 2020. For Trump to be up in the polls, leading majority and averaging of all polls that he was leading from pretty much the last year and a half, and that you got broad spectrum polling on the perception that do you support mass deportation of illegal immigrants that cross over the border? And 60 to 70% of the American people said they're supporting of Trump doing a mass deportation. He's supposed to win this. Ain't no way. Only way he loses is because it's the Republican Party not watching cheating. That's it. They don't got their eye on the ball, and anything goes. And once they find out that they can slip one thing, and they actually get the upper hand on that, they're going to give a call to the other operatives, and that's it. And that's a wrap. You didn't lose 2020 because it was by luck you lost, or that it's something just luckily happened of a specific tactic that the Democrats had. Nah. Once it was open, they did it to multiple locations, multiple outlets, multiple polling systems and stuff. So it's just, don't even get me started with this. It's just ridiculous. Ridiculous.
I can't believe.
If he was...
And I think this issue of using the military to go after American citizens is one of those things I think is a very, very bad thing. Even to say it for political purposes to get elected, I think it's a very, very bad thing, let alone actually doing it.
See, he admits it. Oh, it's like the narrative of the politics, and saying if people get riots and all the other stuff, he's going to send in the National Guards to stop all the destruction of the different cities and stuff like that. Even if you're just saying that to let people understand that you're going to be a law and order president, I think it's just too dangerous. I think it ain't for you to decide. That's for the American people to decide. You idiot. Not for you to come up with propaganda stuff that triggers CNN and MSNBC, and they get this narrative to go out there. But like, you're not being pure even in this conversation. And even in this conversation, you have the judgment of what you did in 2020 with the liars and suckers thing. So you're a piece of shit. And no matter what you say, I'm only analyzing it for the viewers of my podcast to put it in context.
So you're saying when you saw him say that recently, and as he said on the campaign trail, that was something that really concerned you to the point that you thought, as you sat there trying to figure out what to do, you thought maybe it's worth answering some questions about this.
Yeah, it is. And I go back to George Washington and how he set up, before there was an America, how he set it up so that the military would stay out of, would not be used in the United States or domestically, and that the way forward was for military officers not to be involved in politics. And again,
then what did the piece of shit senators and congressmen do? After George Washington, slave owners did, the purest of people, what did he do? What did they do after coming to current times? What did our senators and our congressmen of modern time do? They gave power to the National Guard. So they said, hey, military, we're going to take you into another branch and have military soldiers become National Guards too, so we can have a legal way of going into a city or a state to assist police officers and the governors or the mayors to protect the city from harmful, deadly situations that's going on in the city. That's what y'all did. That's statutes and law that y'all put in place. So don't talk about fucking George Washington like it ain't no senators and congressmen put in laws after and statutes and operations of the military afterwards in modern time to find a way of a loophole to have soldiers be able to go into cities and help out the police and the city mayors and the state to contain order. Idiot.
Unless you're someone like me or Mattis or people like that retired from the military or left the military, like Mark Esper or Mike Pompeo, and then go into a political job, whether it's elected or assigned by the White House. It's a little bit different because you're then involved in it. But for the most part, and that's why I'm so hesitant to talk. You certainly never to tell or recommend to an American who they should vote for, because now that I'm out of the political job, I'm back to being pretty much a retired military officer who should not get too involved in this kind of thing.
But you are. You are telling people who to vote for, idiot.
This goes back to when I was in the White House, for that matter, DHS. I was, originally the conversation would be, Mr. President, that's outside your authority, or, that's a routine use. You really don't want to do that inside the United States. But now that he's talking about it as, I'm going to do it, it's disturbing.
Out of context.
I mean, is he the biggest threat to the country that you've seen in your life out of all the threats, like post 9/11, all these different things?
Well, I think he's certainly the only president that has all but rejected what America is all about and what makes America America in terms of our Constitution, in terms of our values, the way we look at everything, to include family and government. And he's certainly the only president that I know of.
This morals and values shit coming from these elite people is ridiculous. We are greenlighting 10-year-olds to get their dicks cut off. Okay, we're advocating this. Okay, we're advocating for mutilation of children and all kind of stuff in order to have a propaganda of sexual orientation or being part of the LGBTQIA plus community and all this stuff. We're advocating the most wild, degenerate, crazy stuff, and because we're inclusive and we gotta be, y'all. We have to be. How you gonna pass judgment on other human beings and you gotta coexist with them? You gotta coexist with them. So in order to coexist, you have to be inclusive. In order to be inclusive, your morals and your values have to be completely compromised because you can't do logic. You can't do what you know is logically right. And if you're a religious person, you can't stay abiding by the word of the God or the Bible and all other stuff, because once you decide to be inclusive, that falls to the wayside because you know you're compromising it in certain times, in certain scenarios, in certain situations that you got to do part of your job or whatever you're doing. So stop, y'all. I don't mean to mention all this stuff. I'm just saying when people talk about morals and values and all that stuff, we threw it all away collectively. Suburban moms, college graduates, and suburban elites, the politicians, preachers, Christians, Catholics, y'all all threw away your morals and values. Y'all don't give a shit about it. Why? Because you had to find a way to be inclusive. It's ridiculous.
That was certainly in my lifetime. That was like that.
Shitty boy.
And did the former president appreciate the Constitution? Did he appreciate any of these things?
No. It was fascinating. He doesn't know a lot about American history, and certainly as a
That's crazy. Trump always be he'll if you ever see, I'm telling you guys, you don't have it with AI. If Google not doing manipulation of Trump and stuff and the algorithms and all that stuff like that, or DuckDuckGo, I can't even say DuckDuckGo now because they're corrupt. They're not even, they're trying to use the infrastructure of Google so much that they're compromising how they supposed to be regulating DuckDuckGo. So I can't even tell you, but if they don't manipulate the algorithm to try to manipulate people to watch certain things and for things to pop up, Trump got plenty of conversations, speeches, all that stuff where he talk about like historical stuff that you gotta have read books or something to even know it. It's just so. That's his vision or his view or how he feels about Trump. And he's been emotional and he's trying to act like he's not emotional, sound like he's not emotional, but that's an emotional response to say something. You got to know for sure, factually, that he doesn't know anything about our history or American history, that he can't even sit in a conversation with you or talk to you about it. Okay, he can't break down probably the Constitution, but most of us, we can't get all into the Constitution and know which amendments from 1 to 28. We all probably fell at that, but we have some kind of understanding of it. And maybe Trump don't got a detailed understanding, but he knows a lot. He knows a lot. He knows a lot of military stuff because he loves military books. He loves to kind of deal with military different things that we did strategically and stuff. That's the only way. Why is everybody thinking that Trump is a moron? You cannot get the money he has and have the success he had. And everybody, it's just $1 million, it's $400 million his father left him. He lost that money in the 90s. In order for him to have a successful company right now, man, he had to be very cunning, very smart, very instinctive, very proactive in order to do that. In order for him to fight our system, it's ridiculous. Be $1 billion liquid to even be able to fight our system. It's just ridiculous. And you got losers that got paid probably 30, 40 years of their life by taking money from people in taxation. And they judging a $16 billion liquid guy. I don't care what nobody say. He at the least $4 to $16 billion. Liquid assets. It's ridiculous. And they judging him like he a moron. It's ridiculous.
As a former executive in his civilian world, I guess you can be a dictator because you can fire people pretty easily, and the only thing theoretically that you have to follow is the law.
And that dictator stuff is rhetoric. He hasn't been found unlawful in anything, dog.
But then again, an awful lot of people break the law and expect subordinates to break the law, like to circumvent the law somehow. And that's where he was coming from. That was his worldview.
Hey, don't break the law. If you can circumvent it. Hold on a second. Hey, Siri. Hey, Siri. What's the definition of circumvent?
Circumvent means find a way around an obstacle.
Find a way around the law? You're still abiding by the law. You get what I'm saying? If you're circumventing the law, you're still obeying the law. You just find a way to see where the loopholes is in the law. It's ridiculous. Yeah, we talking chess.
So he expected the people that worked for him to break the law?
Well, when he would give, and I think I've told you this many times, when he would tell me that he wanted to do something, 100% of the time I checked with the White House counsel, because oftentimes he wouldn't have the authority to do what he wanted to do. And again, that's an interesting point, because if you listen,
for example, what? For example, what? But you can't even ask him that because he's a lion. Even this interview is propaganda. So he's not gonna tell no truth. He's not gonna tell no logical stuff. He's not, and not unless you put you got to make him objective. The only way you make a person like this that coming to you with negative information about something and somebody is not there to protect himself or have an opposition opinion on the situation, the only way you combat that is you got to vet them. You got to ask them stuff. You got to have stuff on them to let them know where their context coming from. But he just said, because I was a 4-year soldier and everybody perceived that I'm an honorable, integrity person and that you got to believe everything I'm saying. We don't believe shit you saying, you coward.
to certainly my study of presidents, and if you listen to presidents when they leave office, whether they write a book or do interviews, one of the things that surprises them initially was how little power they actually had, and how much they had to work with the Congress to get things done. And most of them accepted that and worked within the rules of what the Constitution dictates. It's frustrating, I'm sure. Well, I know it's frustrating for them because, their agenda that they're trying to push, and suddenly they have to go to the Congress to get money, and if the Congress is not inclined to go along with it, then it's very frustrating. But that is the law.
And when he was confronted with the fact that he couldn't do something, did he want to do it anyway? I mean, when he was confronted with the fact that he couldn't do something legally, did he want to do it anyway?
He would try to make the case that he did have the authority. He commented more than once that that Hitler did some good things too, and of course, if you know history, again, I think he's lacking in that. But if you know what Hitler was all about, it'd be pretty hard to make an argument that he did anything good.
So what would you say when he said to you that Hitler did a lot of good things?
Well, I tell him that. I said, sir, first of all, you should never say that. But if you knew what Hitler was all about from the beginning to the end, everything he did was in support of his racist, fascist life, philosophy.
So I love that when he proposed the conversation or however he came in the discussion of bringing Hitler in, you don't know what that is. They clipped it. They cut it. The guy he's manipulating the time because I think he's setting time points where it's like, okay, 3 minutes and 40 seconds into the conversation, 7 minutes and 10 minutes in the conversation, 30 minutes and 20 seconds in the conversation, and he's at these specific key points. So he's taking his mouse and he's clicking the play button right in the actual time areas, and it's just jumping to that. So he interjects Trump got good ideas or something that Hitler did, but how did he come in with that conversation? He probably said it in a way that it wasn't good for his narrative. He said, well, he would just say that Hitler got something good, and I would say, yeah, well, it's you don't say that because you'd be like, hold on a second, that's you speculating. or he must have said something that made it where that he thought of it in a way that he felt that Hitler said something good, something that was not favorable, that Trump actually said it. Something happened in that conversation, and when he brought up Hitler, that had nothing to do with Trump, and it's how he brought it in that took it out of the context that Trump said it. So what he's doing is implementing only the part of the conversation or the mentioning of Hitler that actually puts it in him saying that, oh, Trump, I'm saying, oh, if it did, and guess what? The reporter, Goldberg, he interjects and say, okay, what did he say about when he said that Hitler did something good? No. How did he bring up Hitler? Because you just imposed that he brought up Hitler and said that Hitler had said something good. But you got to let John Kelly say that. Bring it into context. Bring it into the conversation. You just going straight into, so what do you mean by Hitler did something good? Nope. That's y'all making up the context, and whatever the original recording is, it takes that out. And if the media is not asking for the original tape, he could get John Kelly to come back in and record some other stuff, meaning that it's all scrubbed and it's bullshit. Just by this alone. It's bad. It's bad reporting. It's bad. It's bad question and interviewing. It's bad. It's not vetted.
What would you say when he said to you that Hitler did a lot of good?
Look at that. How you can't pose that question. You gotta say, what did you say when he said that? And he goes on what he said. But you posing the question, man, fake news.
They have to go to the Congress to get money, and if the Congress is not inclined to
shit.
Go along with it, then it's very frustrating. But that is the law.
And when he was confronted with the fact that he couldn't do something, did he want to do it anyway? I mean, when he was confronted with the fact that he couldn't do something legally, did he want to do it anyway?
He would try to make the case that he did have the authority. He commented more than once that that Hitler did some good things too, and of course, if you know history. Again, I think he's lacking in that. But if you know what Hitler was all about, it'd be pretty hard to make an argument that he did anything good.
So what would you say when he said to you that Hitler did a lot of good things?
Well, I tell him that. I said, sir, if you first of all, you should never say that. But if you knew what Hitler was all about from the beginning to the end, everything he did was in support of his racist, fascist life, philosophy, so that nothing he did you could argue was good. It was certainly not done for the right reason, and but he would occasionally say that.
What would he say when you would lay that out to him?
He just, that'd be the end of the conversation usually.
Ridiculous.
Does he have disdain for the disabled?
What the hell?
Is not wanting to be seen with amputees. Amputees that lost their limbs in defense of this country, fighting for every American, to him included, to protect them. That didn't want to be seen with them. That's an interesting perspective for the commander-in-chief to have.
Why didn't he want to be seen with that?
He would just say, look, it doesn't look good for me. So anyways, I don't know. I'm not a psychiatrist. If you're a psychiatrist, I guess you could take a stab at some of these questions, but I'm not.
But he basically said to you that those who died for America on the battlefield were losers and suckers, and he said it more than once.
Yes, but he would say it would always, something else would get him going on. Oftentimes again, he talked about, it was like almost a recording, but the point is
See. So in a conversation they had, they probably had an intellectual conversation where Trump was like, man, they gave up a lot for our country. You get what I'm saying? They gave up a lot for us, not knowing what was it for them to do that. And that's a lot to give up. And you giving up your life for our country, and like, what's in it for you to do that? That's a hell of a thing to do. That's some miraculous and great warriors that do that. And that's because it's just like what I said. It's great. It's a powerful thing. That's why I always say our military soldiers are so much, they're the best of our society because they give up their life. Or what could be their life, any like entrepreneurship, going on vacations, getting married, having sex, doing all kind of great life enjoyment things. They give it all up in fighting for our freedoms and the value of America. So that's a hard thing to conceive. Like, wow, man, people knowing, especially if you know you're going into a war, like a battlefield, like most likely you're going to die. Or somebody next to you, very in close proximity to you, they're going to die. And that's him having a conversation with him like that. And he takes it as, well, you think they stupid for doing that? You think they dumb for doing that? You think they suckers and losers? That's him saying that they suckers and losers. That's how he perceived Trump asking him and having a conversation with him about that they giving up a lot, that our soldiers gave up a lot to fight for us, to die for us on the battlefield. He's having that kind of conversation with him to try to have some humanity and some empathy for our soldiers, and you look at it as, what do you mean? What do you mean that you don't get why they gave it everything up, or you don't understand why they sacrificed so much of their life for us and they die on the battlefield? What was in it for them? What do you mean? That you think they suckers and losers? That's what John Kelly said. If you listen to this, if you understand conversation and how I'm done. Structure of human activity, human thinking, human behavior, even in the conversation that he said, now I know where the suckers and losers come from. It came from him. And he's kind of trying to, because Trump do call people losers, but he ain't gonna call no soldiers no losers. Especially dead soldiers no losers, but he did call McCain a loser, so he put that into the suckers thing. Oh, you think they suckers? You think they losers and suckers and losers? And it was just, it went in there, it went viral. But now I get how that came into conversation, and it's because John Kelly took a conversation Trump is having with him about the major sacrifices that a soldier gives up. Because they do, and we don't talk about it. We don't talk about the life, the accomplishments, the life of joy and enjoyment and going on a cruise and all the other stuff. You got 20-year-olds, 21-year-olds, 23-year-olds dying before they can come home and live in the life of luxury or going on vacation. They dying before they do all that stuff. So you want to have a good conversation with somebody, especially if they at their son's gravesite, and say, wow, man, they gave up a lot. They gave up a lot for our country. It's a lot for that country, and it's not a lot in it for them to give it up, but they did it anyway. They're great warriors. They're great value citizens, and they value our country and the idealism of America. That's what Trump is saying. He's pissed because he don't like Trump. He don't like his behavior. He don't like how combative Trump may be with him. And he take it as, so what do you mean? They think they losers too? You think they suckers and losers? And then that way it just went. That's how that got done. See, I'm telling you, narrative and the control narrative and to be ahead of the curve when people start talking like this. And Trump, dude, you ain't got no friends? You got no friends? You got your family, and maybe I forgot her name already. She was close. That's it. Everybody there for a reason, and if they can destroy you, they will.
I'm not recommending saying, other than that when you're looking to vote for someone, regardless, you got to look at the character and all of those kind of things, and then start looking at the individual's policies.
We're looking at your characters, you piece of shit.
Sure, as a conservative Republican, much of what's gone on the last 3.5 years hasn't been what you wanted to have happen to the country. But we can get by it because you might have a Republican come in the future. But if a person's character isn't at least minimally acceptable, then I think that person can do a lot more damage.
Ridiculous.
I just wish, I'll end with this, I just wish at the end of all of this, whoever wins, that person and the leadership in the country, certainly the political leadership in Washington to include the House and Senate, that people say, okay, let's take a breath. Let's step back. This has been really, really hard. Let's try to come back together as Americans. Stop hating each other just because we have a difference of opinion on political issues. I just hope we do that somehow. I don't know if we will, but I hope we will. I hope whoever becomes the president will start that process. Let's become friends again.
No, we got work to do. We got to destroy your stuff. We got to destroy where you come from and what you hold dear. Whatever it is, we gonna tear it up because you doing this shit for a reason. You doing this propaganda for a reason. You trying to manipulate and interfere with the actual, just the second time John Kelly talking about, I'm not trying to get into, I'm a general and I'm not supposed to get into the politics stuff. This is the second time you interfere with the politics in the presidential election, you idiot. You're a disgraceful piece of shit, John Kelly. I want you to know that. Part of that story was a lie like hell too. That actually it came out that y'all lied.
All right, all of this happening with just 13 days until Election Day. No surprise there. Let's bring in Kash Patel. He's a senior national security advisor to former President Trump and served in Trump's first administration at the Pentagon. So, Kash, first of all, let's address what the vice president said a moment ago, that Trump is praising Hitler, according to John Kelly, his former chief of staff, who was also the Secretary of Homeland Security. He doesn't want a military that's loyal to the Constitution. He wants a military that's loyal to him. You worked in the Pentagon. What do you say?
Hey, it's great to be with you. Thanks for having me. Look, I was president of the staff of the Department of Defense, and what I saw was a man withdraw out of multiple theaters of conflict. What I saw was a commander-in-chief who brought home over 50 hostages and detainees from around the world. That's more than every president before him combined. What I saw was a man attend almost every single dignified transfer of the fallen and spend countless hours with the families of the fallen, giving them the love and care that they need, and most importantly, securing the financial assistance that they need. I saw this man host these individuals and their families in the Oval Office. I saw him prioritize our veterans and our uniformed military members to make sure they had the weapons that they needed and the munitions that they needed, especially if you were going to send them overseas to fight another man's war. And I saw, most importantly, more than anything, invoke the Constitution when it came to the National Command Authority and execute the mission, the no-fail mission of the United States of America and the Department of Defense to secure our freedom. So they can print whatever they want, and we could talk about the Vanessa Guillen story. I was there as his chief of staff at the Department of Defense for that one, but I saw a man as a commander-in-chief and President Donald Trump who fought our veterans and uniforms of the military. And they want to call him Hitler and try to print out more disinformation. I guess that's all they got, because Kamala Harris could have brought home the hostages right now in Israel from a war she started.
But that's not. Look, dude. See, this is my problem with Patel and all them. They don't understand that stuff works. They not spending hundreds of millions of dollars. They're not saying this stuff in the last 13 days for nothing. It's working. They actually took people off the battlefield. They actually voted against them and voted for Joe Biden because of it, wrongfully. But it works. What is y'all respond to that? That they fools.
and refused to pay. Was any of that true? This article in The Atlantic that talks about Trump.
Military. And if they want to call him Hitler and try to print out more disinformation, I guess that's all they got, because Kamala Harris could have brought home the hostages right now in Israel from a war she started with $7 billion she gave to Iran, and she hasn't brought home any of them. She started 2 more world wars.
All right, so you mentioned Vanessa Guillen, who was that young soldier at Fort Hood, Texas, who was murdered, and then her body was dumped in some wetlands. This article in The Atlantic that talks about Trump praising Hitler's generals also talks about the idea that in December of 2020, after meeting with the family in the Oval Office, and I attended that meeting, I was the pool reporter that day, that he had offered to pay portion of her funeral costs. There was a meeting, you were there, Chris Miller was there, the acting Secretary of Defense, Mark Meadows was there, Ben Williamson was there, I believe Mark Milley was there as well, where the subject of the funeral and the payment came up. Trump apparently said he was upset with the cost of the funeral that he had agreed to pay for, said something disparaging about her, and refused to pay. Was any of that true?
Absolutely not. Trump, when we brought to the attention the tragic murder of Guillen, who was serving in our armed forces, President Trump unilaterally stated, we are going to give her the honor and dignity she needs and her family assistance she needs. President Trump ensured that the Department of Defense gave Vanessa Guillen full military honors and paid for the entire financial package that was needed to secure and honor her memory. And if you don't want to believe me, a person who was there in the Oval Office along with Chris Miller, then believe the family. Vanessa Guillen's own sister and mother came out yesterday and specifically said that Donald Trump could not have been more gracious, caring, and loving as a commander-in-chief. And they said that what the Atlantic printed were outright lies, and they are desecrating the memory of the fallen. It is absolutely disgusting for me, who ran the Department of Defense, to see the politicization of our members, of our men and women who wore the cloth of our nation to defend us and our freedoms, and then to come out at the 11th hour to try and make up more stories. It's better that we question the folks and the sources like the Mark Milleys of the world, who took it upon himself to call our enemies in China and discuss war planning operations and politicize the Department of Defense rather than execute the National Command Authority and safeguard our mission. We are so sorry that Vanessa Guillen's family is going through this, but Donald Trump ensured that the DOD would pay for it. And what he said afterwards was maybe even more convincing of his commander-in-chief's command. He said if the military didn't pick up the tab, he would in its entirety. That's the commander-in-chief I want.
I want to come back to what the vice president said in just a moment, but again, it was July 30th, 2020. I was in the Oval Office. I was the pool reporter when Vanessa Guillen's family, including Myra, her sister, were there. Here's what her sister said to the president about him meeting with the family, and he did it privately and then opened up the Oval Office meeting to cameras because he wanted to get more attention placed on this. Listen to what Myra Guillen said.
I want to thank you for taking the time, taking us in. It's an honor to be able to meet you, and I know you're going to help us and, honoring our sister, passing the bell. And of course, I want to point out how is it that her chain of command failed drastically.
Yeah, I mean, that was quite a moment there. It was somber, it was respectful. I know the family very much appreciated it. All right, let's come back to what the vice president said a minute ago. This was at the top of her remarks. Listen here, Cash.
So yesterday we learned that Donald Trump's former chief of staff, John Kelly, a retired 4-star general, confirmed that while Donald Trump was president, he said he wanted generals like Adolf Hitler had. Donald Trump said that because he does not want a military that is loyal to the United States Constitution. He wants a military that is loyal to him. He wants a military who will be loyal to him personally.
So now they kind of, because we already heard the tape, y'all. We heard the tapes, okay? We just heard that. Okay? They're putting their own spin on it, their own narrative, how they perceived the conversation is. Or he wants a military loyal to him and not the Constitution. Where did that say that in that? It's just ridiculous. And that one person could have this kind of narrative out there or start this wild propaganda out there. It's ridiculous. But look, I'm going to try to get through this.
One that will obey his orders even when he tells them to break the law or abandon their oath to the Constitution of the United States. In just the past week, Donald Trump has repeatedly called his fellow Americans the enemy from within.
No, he called
and
you
even said that he would use
and
the
Biden
United States military
and
to go
the
after
FBI
American
agents,
citizens.
the enemy
And
of the
let's be
state,
clear
enemy
about who
within,
he considers
not
to be
the American
the enemy
people, you
from
idiot.
within.
You are.
Anyone
So I
who
love that the
refuses
message
to
is for her to win is to turn his words against the American people. But if the American people actually assume that he's talking about them as the enemy within, go right fucking ahead, y'all. Go right ahead. It's ridiculous. That should be an easy one. That should hurt her and turn her polls against her. It should be easy. Because they know he talking about the FBI and the CIA and the government that's tried to convict him and all that stuff. He talking about them. He talking about no damn American citizens are the enemy within. It's y'all, the people with the power. It's ridiculous.
Or dares to criticize him would qualify, in his mind, as the enemy within.
You are, bitch.
Like judges.
I didn't call her a bitch one time. And all the hours I've been covering her, but I am had it up to here now. I just let one go. I'm going to try never to do that again. That's the first time I actually did it. But I'm done. I'm done. Gloves are off, man.
Like nonpartisan election officials. It is deeply troubling and incredibly dangerous that Donald Trump would invoke Adolf Hitler, the man who is responsible for the deaths of 6 million Jews and hundreds of thousands of Americans. All of this is further evidence for the American people of who Donald Trump really is. This is a window into who Donald Trump really is.
Donald Trump is doing so good in the polls and in the win in the situation. Fox News is even saying, shit, we don't really want him to win. Because Fox News against him too. And it's just like, look. And I know I'm just saying everybody against him, but it's just all coming in full circle, y'all. And I'm telling you, it's right back where 2016 was. All he got is him and his family. And he needs to get his family more in line, too. I don't think they're in line like they should be. You get what I'm saying? So it's messy. And this is how you lose. Because we got a weaker society. They were a little strong in 2016, but they way weak now. They way weak. Look at all the other stuff. Look at our society. Look at our society as it's a pussy society.
Really is.
Men are weaker.
From the people who know him best, from the people who worked with him side by side in the Oval Office and in the Situation Room. And it is clear from John Kelly's words that Donald Trump is someone who, I quote, certainly falls into the general definition of fascist, who in fact vowed to be a dictator on day one and vowed to use the military as his personal militia to carry out his personal and political vendettas. Donald Trump is increasingly unhinged and unstable. And in a second term, people like John Kelly would not be there to be the guardrails against his propensities and his actions.
Thank God.
Those who once tried to stop him from pursuing his worst impulses would no longer be there.
You damn right.
And no longer be there to rein him in.
Yep.
So the bottom line is this. We know what Donald Trump wants.
They're going to let this whole thing play out.
Power. The question in 13 days will be, what do the American people want? Thank you.
So, Cash, I'm not quite sure why a presidential candidate comes out to react to a story in the way that she did, particularly
because it's her story, you idiot. They all in cahoots together.
4 years old, if not older than that, because John Kelly was gone as chief of staff not too far into the administration. And why would it come out now, just 13 days until Election Day?
Because they want to put President Trump and his powerful national security policy on defense. We are not going on defense. When President Trump was a commander-in-chief, He went on offense. He ended the forever wars. He crushed the narco traffickers. He brought home hostages. He ended child sex trafficking. And he was brave enough to use military assets in an expansive order to keep not only Americans safe, but the global world order safe. He made sure the DOD was no longer politicized and weaponized. Every one of the names she mentioned, all those individuals begged and auditioned to be in the positions they got. And when President Trump told them that the Department of Defense is a civilian chain of command, just like President Washington and our Constitution designated it to be, they did not like that. They were fighting off 60 years of the defense industrial complex owning the Department of Defense, and Donald Trump restored civilian authority to the chain of command. And he executed that when he asked for an investigation of Vanessa Guillen's death, tragic death, so we know what actually happened, and so the military could provide her the full honors and designation she deserves. That's the commander-in-chief they want. What they want now is us to react to headlines, and I'm going to remind the world what Donald Trump did as our commander-in-chief, and I am going to remind the world that he was the one that did not politicize it and did not bend the knee to Washington, D.C. and the generals that have been going in and out of the defense industrial complex, raking in tens of millions of dollars off of another man's war and sending men and women to die for matters that aren't our own. That's what they are afraid of, that President Trump will restore the DOD to the civilian chain of command the Constitution demands and safeguard this world and our nation.
All right, Kash Patel, the former chief of staff at the DOD. Kash, thank you so much. Appreciate you joining us on short notice.
I'm Steve Doocy.
All right, Alex, thank you. We are now less than 2 weeks out from Election Day with millions of early votes already cast. The candidates are back out campaigning today. Their strategies slightly different. Former President Donald Trump met with Latino voters in Florida before an event in Battleground, North Carolina.
Vice President Kamala Harris sat down for a network news interview, though her running mate and former President Barack Obama took her message to the Midwest. Jared Hill has more on the state of the race from New York.
We're going to win North Carolina.
Former President Donald Trump was back in the Tar Heel State Tuesday for the second day in a row, slamming Vice President Kamala Harris.
She's totally unfit for office.
And the retired generals who served in his administration.
What a stupid group of people they were. Mattis, Milley.
An article published by The Atlantic yesterday claimed that during a private conversation while in office, Trump said, quote, "I need the kind of generals Hitler had, people who were totally loyal to him," which the Trump campaign has denied.
As a 24-year veteran of our military, that makes me sick as hell.
Harris's running mate Tim Walz reacted to the alleged Hitler comment while stumping in Wisconsin yesterday.
People are so corrupt. I love they fake ass indignant.
Go ahead. Bring us to probably the most controversial thing that's happened over the last 24 hours, arguably the October surprise that John Kelly and General Mattis are authoring.
Yeah, so I heard this overnight. So this is The Atlantic. It's Jeffrey Goldberg. And here's the headlines from The Atlantic. Trump, I need the kind of generals that Hitler had. And you can see the subtitle there, the Republican nominees' preoccupation with dictators. And it goes on. When I saw this, first, they talk about a meeting with the Guillen family. The Guillen family tragically lost their sister, lost their daughter. She served our country honorably. And they characterize a meeting, one in which I was in. I was not in this December meeting they speak of, but a meeting with this family. And here's what the sister said about this story. Wow, I don't appreciate how you all are exploiting my sister's death for politics, hurtful, deceitful, the important changes she made for service members, and indeed she did. President Donald Trump did nothing but show respect to my family and Vanessa. I was in that July meeting. That was undoubtedly the case. But the reason my antennas went up last night when I saw the name Jeffrey Goldberg is because I was on a tarmac in September of 2020, and a story popped from him in The Atlantic, and it was the suckers and losers story we have all heard. Within hours, I was able to collect more than a dozen individuals, several who were firsthand sources saying that never happened. Zach Fuentes, who was an aide of John Kelly, came out and said that never happened. We found contemporaneous documents disputing the reporter who said Trump did not go to the cemetery, not because of a bad weather call. John Bolton's book disputes that. We found a contemporaneous document to dispute that. My point is, this is based on 4 anonymous sources, 2 weeks before an election, 100%. Disputed by people on the record, and yet it led a CBS News broadcast. What a shame.
Did they
what
include
a shame.
your portion? Did they include?
No, they never reached out to me. I was in that first meeting, never reached out to me. But I will say this quickly. Donald Trump, I have never seen him more downtrodden than when the suckers and losers story came out. Stuff came out of about his finances, fake stories. He didn't care. He was devastated by that story. I remember him saying, what kind of monster would ever say words like that? This is shameful reporting from The Atlantic, in my opinion.
Well, to the former president's point as well, he said, when asked about this, he goes, just think about this logically. He goes, I'm in a cemetery surrounded by generals. He goes, why would I say? He said one of them would deck me in the face over something.
Right.
He goes, why would I say something? It just logically does not make sense to say that.
It's
comment
ridiculous.
in the cemetery
But dumbass soldiers and voters think it
I
did.
saw this coming. You know, I've said this for about a year.
Yeah, you did call this.
So I read H.R. McMaster's book. I thought that was going to be it. I find him unbelievably insightful and smart. I read his book. And you know what he did as national security advisor? He spent the whole time dealing with Mattis and Kelly, who I also like and have a huge respect for, who didn't like the president, thought he was incompetent and not capable of doing the job. And they thought it was their job to rein him in. McMaster said, even though he's a 3-star, telling 4 stars, and said, we're civilians now, that's not your job. Your job is not to rein in the president. Your job is to give him the best advice possible and do what he said. Play this out. So if your general, who's your chief of staff, and your secretary of defense is not doing what you say on an everyday basis, he's like, I could see him going, I love generals that listened. That would be great. And he's also from a world where his company is huge, but it's a family company. So when he asks Eric or somebody to do something, they do it. It's not even publicly traded. He doesn't have board members. All of a sudden, now he's like, do this. What do you mean you can't do it? Do this. What do you mean you can't do it? What do you mean I'm not allowed to do it? And after a while being investigated, there were probably times where he topped off. Wouldn't it be great if generals actually listened? Can you imagine if some people listened to the commander-in-chief? I could absolutely see that happening. And why? And they know it in context. But they said he could win. I'm going to stop him.
And so The Atlantic is getting a lot of publicity for this particular article, and it's getting a lot of publicity because of the Hitler comment, which the Trump campaign says he never said that, and also the cost of the funeral, because during the meeting you were at with the family of Vanessa Guillen, he said, how much is it going to cost? And her lawyer said, the family lawyer said, well, the military is going to take care of it. And he said, well, if there's a problem, let me know. I will financially pay for it. And they said the things that he said afterwards never happened as well. I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube
joined now by former Trump White House Communications Director Anthony Scaramucci. He's now campaigning for Kamala Harris. I hope people.
I'm not listening to this shit. I don't have to. I gave enough of the opposition by even just letting Kelly play on my ear. You get what I'm saying? I did enough. I had to be respectful to this
General
stuff.
Mark Milley completed.
Okay, we already played that clip too. I don't even have to go through that. I really don't. Okay. So I want you guys to kind of really get the real perspective of this situation, and don't be propagandized. Okay. It's ridiculous. But I think those clips kind of show and give you guys a full context of what's going on in this situation. Try to check a scene.
Exclusively to CNN from the forthcoming book by New York Times reporter Matt.
No need to do that. Okay, so what the video I want to play for you guys is a dedication video. Two of them. So this one he made, and I played it in the previous episode, and he made this for the actual soldiers. So I'm gonna play this one, then I'm gonna play one big one that's a more big total, like a dedication to Trump and what's been going on with him, and then we're gonna end it, and then I'll see you guys on the next episode. Okay? So let's just watch this real quick.
The dignity, daring, and devotion of the American military is unrivaled anywhere in history and any place in the world. Every time we sing our anthem, every time its rousing chorus swells our hearts with pride, we renew the eternal bonds of loyalty to our fallen heroes. We think of the soldiers who spend their final heroic moments on distant battlefields to keep us safe at home. We remember the young Americans who never got the chance to grow old, but whose legacy will outlive us all. Americans gave their lives to carry that flag through piercing waves, blazing fires, sweltering deserts, and storms of bullets and shrapnel. We stand with you today and all days to come, remembering and grieving for America's greatest heroes. In spirit and strength, in loyalty and love, in character and courage, they were larger than life itself. They were angels sent from above, and they are now rejoined with God in the glorious kingdom of heaven. Wherever the stars and stripes fly, at our schools, our churches, town halls, firehouses, and national monuments, the names of these fallen warriors will be woven into its threads. For as long as we have citizens willing to follow their example, to carry on their burden, to continue their legacy, then America's cause will never fail, and American freedom will never, ever die. And with God as our witness, we solemnly vow this majestic flag will proudly fly forever. God bless our military. God bless the memory of the fallen. God bless our Gold Star families. And God bless America.
Now, Trump said that's his dedication in his own words, without letting the media kind of corrupt what his voice is. You get what I'm saying? So it's ridiculous. And so I just wanted to play that for you guys, because it's all about the military and how the military perceives them and how veterans perceive them and all that other stuff. Yeah, for these 2 episodes that I just got to do, yeah, I'm bad-mouthing the hell out of 4-star generals and veterans politicians, because they the bottom of the dumpsters to me. But we love our soldiers. We love our military. We love our veterans. Navy, Marine, the Army, National Guard. We love our soldiers in America. They're the best of us. Better than what we ever done for this country or will do. And especially the fallen that never got the chance to enjoy the things that we have enjoyed, that we lived long enough to enjoy, and they never. Braver and more worth it than we were, and they will never get to enjoy that stuff. Enjoy life, really. So everybody talking about leveling up and getting that bag and all that stuff, it's better people than you than get the chance to get that bag. So have some respect. So the sad part about it is you have military soldiers like Milley and Mathis and Kelly, those generals, 4-star generals. And they so corrupt that they feel fearful of what Trump would do to the Pentagon and the orders that he'll give that's under his command to give, and they just feel like it's the wrong decision. And they, for the greater good, that they will lie and create stories to put in the mind of the American people that he's Hitler, that he hates the soldiers, and he calls them suckers and losers. And they got no proof and no validation of it. And the people that are around, even their own staff, say that this never happened. So it's ridiculous. It's stupid. And just like the guy said in the Fox News couch, where that is, why would he do that so stupid? We got a bunch of military people around him. Why would he disrespect soldiers like them and call them suckers and losers? Somebody would pop them in his mouth, and they would. So he was heartbroken. I know he was. That narrative got out there and people really believe, and they believe it to this day, that they even got the nerve to use it 4 years later again to take his presidency away from him. Because that's what they're doing. So I say this. This is an episode that is about truth and honesty and bluntness and no bullshit. Y'all should be ashamed of yourself for believing anything from this point on that comes out of John Kelly's mouth. I gave y'all too much evidence, too much context, too much factual basis. The narrative that's out there, I gave you too much information to let you know it's propaganda. It's psychological warfare. It's to make you perceive something that's logically telling you it's not true. Click the comments, give me your point of view on it. Hit the follow, please subscribe and like the video. This is Individual Perspective Podcast. My name is Daris D. McKinney, and I'm gonna leave it there. Excuse me. I'm really gonna leave it there. See you in the next one. It's a long one. I know. Long too. I know I gotta try to shorten these up. And I will. But thanks you for your time. It's Individual Perspective. And don't worry about it. I'm coming for Eminem too.